The Texans don't only have the worst offensive tackle in the NFL, they have the second worst. It's just remarkable how unsustainable their success is with a quarterback that's not Deshaun Watson.
Hi, I'm Chris Ryan. I'm joined by Danny Kelly, Kevin Clark, and Robert Mason. We're talking about personnel decisions that have shaped the modern NFL. And Danny, let's talk a little bit about the Jacksonville Jaguars and their decision to draft a stud running back over a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and so you can look back at every draft and kind of say the what-if game, but this one to me felt really, really big because number one, they had the 4th overall pick.
Yeah.
They just built what turned out to be a generationally talented defense. And to counter that, they wanted to have that run game. They wanted to have that strong run game. So they took Fournette at number 4, passing up Patrick Mahomes, who went number 10, and then Deshaun Watson, who went number 12. Going forward, like, how different would this Jaguars team be if they had chosen Mahomes there or Watson there? I think that it completely upset the balance of power in the AFC. I think the Jaguars could have built a 10-year contender with that. They would have had that new contract. They would have had the new rookie contract at that spot. They could have continued to do what they do in the free agency, in aggressive free agency, and go getting a really good defense that way. And instead, now it's kind of all falling apart. Bortles' contract is an albatross at this point. The defense, I think, is starting to really resent the offense for good reason. There's just incredible turnovers.
Love that.
I think
Buddy Ryan era.
I mean, it's just upset the whole balance of that team, honestly. And I think looking forward, it changes the future of the Chiefs, obviously, and the Texans. And so I think that, to me, is that decision there has just incredible repercussions throughout the whole league, especially the AFC.
I think this is an interesting conversation, Kevin, because you can talk about it in a lot of the same ways we were just kind of talking about McVay and his impact on the Rams. How important is it that Mahomes or Watson has somebody on the sideline with a scheme that takes advantage of their specific skill sets?
Mahomes is lapping the league in the amount of throws he's throwing that are just wide open, wide open targets. I don't know if you get that in Jacksonville. I think Nathaniel Hackett's a really good offensive coordinator, but I just don't think it's going to be the same. So is Mahomes an upgrade over Blake Bortles? I don't know if I needed to finish that sentence. It wouldn't look like it does in Kansas City. But if you're looking at last year, yeah, they probably would have won the Super Bowl with a rookie Mahomes. I think the same thing of a healthy Deshaun Watson. I think it didn't work out that way, but I would say that Mitch Trubisky, if he fell to 4.
Are you trolling him? Or
I wouldn't be doing that. I'm not sure Mitch is that far off from Mr. Bortles, unfortunately.
But
they
I
both
think
miss wide open.
Yes.
I think you can look at it, the entire top 10 and top 12. Most of them would have benefited from taking Mahomes or Watson.
Right.
Is it weird that I'd rather see Watson? Like, the idea of Watson is more exciting to me because I've seen him in not a great scenario.
Yeah.
So I believe that he'd be able to succeed anywhere. And Mahomes, I think he would too, but I've never had to watch it.
We would if Mahomes had been drafted by the Jets, we'd be looking instead of Jamal Adams.
Yes.
We'd be looking at Mahomes in the same way we look at Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
It's like we're gonna have
hopefully.
a
Who knows?
Liam Neeson taken situation where we're just gonna get him out of the Jets. Like that's what we have to do. Instead, he was put in the absolute perfect situation, and it was great.
Let's say the Jags, instead of drafting Fournette, which I think everybody was like, pretty cool, but probably like a little high for that, and they had drafted something that was like, well, we didn't get this quarterback, but we made the responsible pick or something.
Jamal Adams.
Is there something about drafting a guy at running back and the specific level of value attached to that position? Yes.
Oh, yes. I mean, absolutely there is. I just feel like we've seen it over and over again. You're seeing it with Ezekiel Elliott right now. And he's a guy that when you draft a running back at that spot, he is supposed to be able to transcend anything around him. Right. It doesn't matter what the passing game looks like. It doesn't matter what the offensive line looks like.
Yeah.
That guy is going to get you 4.6 yards per carry in his sleep.
Is average.
Yes. and Saquon Barkley, in my opinion, is the most talented of all of them. I don't feel the least bit out of line saying that.
Yeah.
He's been able to succeed as a receiver in a way that those guys weren't right away.
Yeah.
So, and that guy is even dampened by the fact that he doesn't have a support system around.
That's Kevin.
The last 3 running backs taken in the top 5. All of those teams deeply regret their selection.
Yes.
Ezekiel Elliott would much rather have Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
Leonard Fournette would much rather have
And quarterback.
Anybody
Watson,
on the
quarterback.
planet who can get you more than 3.9 yards per carry.
Yes. Danny, we're not just talking about what this means for the Jaguars, though, right? Because the Chiefs luck into this succession plan that so few teams actually get, right? Where you can actually hand off operations from one competent quarterback to somebody who might be a generational talent. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at the Jaguars' decision to not take one of those quarterbacks changes the Chiefs' fortunes for the next 10 or 15 years. I mean, the way that Mahomes looks right now, he is, like you said, a generational talent potentially. His arm is definitely a generational, he's got
Generational arm.
Yeah.
He's got
a
generational
generational
arm.
His arm is what we call elite. And so, I mean, honestly though, but like he landed in that perfect situation. That changes that whole outlook for the Chiefs going forward 10 years. Because if they hadn't, if he wasn't there, would they have chosen a quarterback? We don't know. Probably
I don't think
not.
so.
They would
Do
have
they
stuck
get
with
locked
Alex
into
Smith.
another Smith contract? Yeah.
And then are they a potential, first round, get kicked out of the playoffs every year going forward for the rest of Andy Reid's career? And now, how different does that change that whole scenario?
I don't think they would have taken a quarterback. They were enamored with Mahomes.
Right.
They absolutely loved him. That's the reason they made that aggressive choice.
The Chiefs were.
The Chiefs. So now you have the scenario in this hypothetical where you'd be in the last year of Alex Smith's contract because they traded him with 1 year left on his deal. So you'd be sitting there looking at the next draft and saying, well, we need a guy. Do we really love what's here? It just feels like the uncertainty there puts them in a spot they probably don't want to be in. I mean, they loved Mahomes and they made the exact right play. Maybe the most important trade up of, I can't even remember.
That might even be like the larger, point here is that trade up, that decision to go get Mahomes, I think changes the AFC.
Well, it changes
the
football
NFL.
because if it allows that, it brings on this offense that the Chiefs are trotting out. I mean, like we can lament the waste of this specific unit on Jacksonville, the defensive unit, maybe not getting into the most competitive spot that you'd like to see them. But this really does open up a whole new way of looking at football offense by having Mahomes in Kansas City, right?
We get to see, real innovation. Real NFL innovation happens when it's the perfect marriage of scheme and player. And that's what they have in Kansas City. And it's going to open up the possibilities. And this goes back again to the 2007 Patriots, who were the first team to run a real spread offense. And what that happened, once you have success, then even the most conservative coaches around the league say, you know what, that can work. And so now there's going to be 31 other coaches who are, because they're
Except
NFL
for
coaches, because they're NFL coaches are conservative by nature. They're going to watch what's happening in Kansas City, and next year they're going to have a plan saying, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that?
I think Deshaun Watson winds up becoming a little bit of a footnote here. The Texans are having, I would call it AFC South success this year.
I feel like what he's doing right now is really impressive.
Really?
I mean, his numbers are better than they were last year in terms of efficiency. He's not throwing as many touchdowns, but the fact that guy can even survive in the offense he has right now is amazing.
Every time I get excited about Watson, I'm just like, and that's a spleen injury. You know what I mean? Like, the level of abuse he's taking behind the line there.
Some offenses, some offensive lines especially, there are one or two guys. Maybe one guy. You have this one tackle who's just completely incompetent. He gets blown by 5 times a game. The Texans don't only have the worst offensive tackle in the NFL, they have the second worst. It's just remarkable how unsustainable their success is with a quarterback that's not Deshaun Watson.
It seems like the Jags are really screwed because of the Bortles contract situation. The Chiefs are going to be gods for the next 10 years. Is the Texans, are they a good coach away? Are they 1 or 2 good offensive linemen away?
The problem is they traded away so much over those 2 years. And I mean, they're trading away draft picks for Demaryius Thomas now. They're not interested in offensive linemen, I guess. But it's going to take a couple years because you can't remake an offensive line in a single season. They're going to have money to spend on those positions. But as we've seen the last couple of years, you don't want to be throwing around money on free agent offensive linemen. That's a bad investment almost every single time.
Bill O'Brien just won a power struggle. He's entrenched.
This is his thing, Okay, so Deshaun Watson's going to look like old Rick Grimes at the end of all of this.